Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I am glad you made it. The COLA, cost of living increase, our pay raise effectively for 2026 has been showing upward trajectory over the last few months. We are poised to get a larger than previously expected raise for our disability compensation, Social Security, dependency indemnity compensation, everything that's affected by COLA. Now, with that, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. Every thumbs up, every minute watched really does help the channel expand its reach, which is really what we're trying to do here to get the information out so we're not left in the dark, if you know what I mean. All right, so the CPIW figures are going to be utilized to actually calculate the true COLA, cost of living adjustment. Those will be used, those numbers, for July, August, and September of this year compared to last year, and that will calculate the actual increase, which will be announced in October. Right now, we're looking at forecasts. We're looking at projections, if you will. And let's start off with what those numbers are looking like, and then I'm going to jump into some predictions and go from there. So the latest, the May, we are now in June. So the May 2025 Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, that would be the CPIW, was released June 11th, and that was at 314.839. That's a 2% above the fiscal year 2025 baseline of 308.729. June, which is the month we're in currently, June's figures will be announced the middle of July. Now, jumping into an article here with some forecasts, and I'd love to get your comments. I mean, we're getting close now, and some people are like, who cares? Well, I care. And there's a lot of people that do like to kind of get a pulse on what's going on. So let's dive into this and go from there. So I found this article on 401k Specialist and sharing it with you here today. This came out here in this month, June of 2025. On June 11th, actually. So sharing it with you now. Latest 2026 Social Security COLA, and by default, Veterans Affairs, because Veterans Affairs will have legislation signed that says that they mirror whatever adjustments made by Social Security. So even though it references Social Security, by default, Veterans Affairs will fall into that. So the latest 2026 Social Security COLA forecast match the 2025's increase. Another month of slight upticks puts updated forecasts for next year's raise at 2.5%, the same as the 2025 increase. That updated estimate today, of June 11th, comes from both independent Social Security and Medicare policy analyst Mary Johnson, as well as the Senior Citizen League. And it is up slightly from the 2.4% sources forecasted last month. Now, the question is this trend going to continue? Could we see a 3% increase? What is going to happen over the next 4 months, particularly the last 3 of those 4, July, August, and September, and where is that going to put us? So I'd love to get your thoughts and comments on that. Please throw it in there, what you think. Let's start throwing out some guesses on where COLA will fall. There's a quotation here. This estimate may rise with the 4 more months of data still to come before the 2026 COLA will be announced in October, said Johnson, a longtime forecaster of COLAs. Slightly higher than 2.4% forecast just a month ago, Johnson said Trump administration tariffs are beginning to affect consumer prices and boosting inflation. Cautioned that must be but, not cut, but there's a C, so it's not me. But cautioned that the full impacts of tariffs are still an unknown at this point. Despite the tariffs, the latest Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, the CPIW, released June 11th, which is the index that's used to calculate the annual adjustment to Social Security benefits and, by default, Veterans Affairs, is 2.2% higher than a year ago, making the lowest level of inflation since 2020. The pullback quotation here. The pullback in higher prices appears to be reversing, Johnson said. This is likely to indicate that consumers, especially those who are retired, and another spelling error, which coming from me is funny that I even noticed this stuff, but by the way. So especially those who are retired and living on fixed income or juggling as consumer prices remain stubbornly high for certain items. Notably, meats, higher cost of housing, and automotive repairs continue to remain elevated. So TSCL, that is the Senior Citizens League, forecast rises for fourth straight month. And again, the question is it going to continue to trend upward in the next 4 months? The last 3 of those 4 are the ones that actually matter. But for forecasting purposes, it will be interesting to see how this all shakes out. The Senior Citizens League model prediction has now increased by 0.1% for 4 consecutive months. Seniors, there's a quotation here, seniors should be concerned as inflation continues to tick upward. The TSCL, the Senior Citizens League Executive Director Shannon Benton, research shows that there's a serious disconnect between the inflation the government reports and the inflation that seniors experience every day. If the government tells us that prices are rising faster, it's likely that seniors are already feeling the crunch. And look, that is why we have seen bills over the last several years, and I don't even know, prior to that probably, shooting for a change in how COLA is calculated. They are asking to utilize the CPIE in lieu of the CPIW. The CPIE is the Consumer Price Index for elderly, and it really shows the costs that are experienced by elderly versus your younger generation, specifically working folks. So when the majority of Social Security recipients aren't working, it seems to me that that would be a better indice to use. The CPIE, if utilized, would have over the past 20 years, on average, been about maybe, I don't know, close to 0.5% higher, 0.25% to 0.5% higher in adjustments. But when you look at it from a compounding interest sort of perspective, that could add up very quickly. All right, so moving on, the Senior Citizens League, in a press release on, I believe it was June 11th, said a hiring freeze at the Bureau of Labor Statistics has forced the Consumer Price Index program to cut back on the number of businesses where it measures prices. Interesting, because how is that going to now affect and trickle over to the calculations for COLA in July, August, and September? I would love to get somebody smart comment on that. So again, what they said was a hiring freeze at the Bureau of Labor Statistics has forced the Consumer Price Index program to cut back on the number of businesses where it measures prices. Interesting. In April, the agency said it had used a less accurate method for estimating prices more than usual due to the shortage of workers, and it has stopped collecting consumer inflation's data in 3 cities. If that concerns you, probably reach out to your congressional member and let them know that you are aware that there has been some changes at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, some cuts, and that they are not measuring inflation as accurately as before. And you sure hope that this doesn't affect COLA negatively. Putting less reliable data into the CPIE makes it less reliable measure of inflation, and seniors already have their doubts. According to the Senior Citizens League's 2025 survey on seniors to be released later this week, 80% of seniors thought 2024's inflation was over 3%, higher than this year's COLA of 2.5%. In other words, what we have seen is literally inflation at a line like this, and COLAs at a line like this. Sure, they're both going up, but the gap is getting bigger and bigger as they shoot off into time, right? So there's another quotation here. While streamlining the federal government is a good thing, that shouldn't involve cutting back on our ability to measure how our economy is changing, Benton said. Inaccurate and unreliable data in the CPI dramatically increases the likelihood that seniors receiving COLA that's lower than actual inflation, which was already the argument, by the way, which can cost seniors thousands of dollars over the course of their retirement. This is upsetting, to say the least. Official COLA to be set in October. In 2026, Social Security COLA raise was to end up at the current forecasted 2.5%. The average Social Security beneficiary would see a raise of approximately $48 per month based on 1907 as the number, $1,907 being the average monthly benefit in 2025. That would then bump up their average monthly benefit to $1,955, so up $48. Or if you want to look at it annually, it would be $23,460. Importantly, you should remember that these COLA forecasts are preliminary and are subject to change, obviously, as the official COLA is determined by the Social Security Administration each October based on the final cumulative third calendar quarter CPIW data. If the average CPIW reading from the third quarter of 2025 is higher than the 2024 inflation has occurred, and beneficiaries will receive a raise. The Social Security Administration is expected to officially announce the 2026 COLA by October 15th, 2025. COLAs can vary widely from year to year, while the average COLA raise since 2010 is approximately 2.4%. There was no COLA raise at all in 2010, 2011, and 2016. Side note, there'll never be a negative COLA. It'll always be zero or an actual upward percentage. And beneficiaries saw a 41-year high raise of 8.7% in 2023 as inflation soared coming out of the pandemic. There was a 3.2% COLA in 2024 and then a 2.5% in 2025. Right now, if everything stayed status quo, we would then again see a 2.5 here for 2026, but we still have 4 months left, and it's the last 3 months of these next 4 that really count. Love to get your thoughts and your guess on where COLA will fall. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.